Alright guys, how y'all doing? We're back again. Um, this time I'm gonna do a muse for y'all, um, in which I'm gonna cover some stuff I wrote down and probably a few things I didn't write down either. So, first thing I'm gonna say is I hope that everybody's well and staying warm. I know it's got a little colder here lately, so hope you're staying warm. Um, it wasn't a very good day for me um, yesterday um, because I um, had a migraine pretty much all day. So, um, and when you have a migraine and you're trying to get, um, state assistance paperwork done to save your job, uh, that just makes it worse and makes it last a lot longer than it has to be. So, but I'm gonna get into that in a couple of minutes here. I just wanted to, like I say, wish y'all well and hope that you're doing good. I've talked to some of you individually, so I know some of your situations aren't what you want them to be. Um, just, hang on because situations will get better. And with that said, I'm going to say one last thing before you started, and I intended to lead with this, but I didn't. Um, this should be proof that none of this shit is pre-planned or pre-recorded. But so I'm gonna go ahead and say greetings from inside the Pepsi bottle. Um, crazy, I know, but it's me. Y'all know me. Y'all love me. Deal. Alright, with that said, we're gonna go into some of these topics here. And I wrote these down because I didn't want to forget. And we're probably gonna end up covering some shit I didn't write down because it just happens like that sometimes. But, and again, I'm not gonna cover these in the order I wrote them down, probably. So if you see me stopping to cross a topic off, that would be why. And the first thing I'm going to cover, and this is one big thing, so I'm going to cover, there were about 3 or 4 topics that spun off of this. So rather than doing a bunch of bonus topics, I'm just going to lump this all into one big topic. And that would be the struggle to get the required upgrades for my job by the time that they say I need them. Um, Basically, what happened is, around the 31st of January, I think, maybe 1st of February, I got an email from our IT department at work that said, everybody has to be upgraded to Windows 10 because we just upgraded the computers in the center to Windows 10, and everybody that's using Windows at home needs to have the same thing. Now, in the cases of people, not that this applies, but it was just an aside in the email, so I'm going to cover it. In the cases of people that were using Macs, they need to upgrade to the latest version of the Mac operating system. Not sure what that is, but again, that doesn't apply to me. So, um, so everybody has to be pretty much on the same system, because the certificates that support Windows or systems older or operating systems older than Windows 10 come the 19th won't be supported, and you won't be able to get into the portal to do your work. So, with that said, I immediately called my contacts with the state and got that rolling. I had to reopen my case with the state, which takes time. I had a meeting on Wednesday with my new caseworker. Her name's Christina Silvas. She's very, very nice. And not that this means anything, but she's was kind of hot too, but that's just me. Anyway, I digress. Um, and we filled out the mountain of paperwork. Now, trying to do all that when I had a migraine that was the size of Texas just made it excruciating. Um, it's already a long, tedious, drawn-out process. Having a migraine on top of that was just nuts. I don't wish it on anybody, but the end of that is we got all the paperwork filled out, figured out what we needed, put plans in place, temporary plans in place to cover me until the bureaucratic bullshit is all cut through and everything. So that's good. I have to do a computer assessment through the Cincinnati Association for the Blind, which I was trying to avoid because that's just more red tape to cut through. But based on what Christina told me on Wednesday, if she sends the request, she may be able to cut through some of that and cut down the time that I have to wait. Because the temporary plan that's in place is Kevin, who used to be my job coach, who is no longer a job coach, but comes back to help people that he coached before, has a new computer for me that will work for the specifications that my work is saying we're going to need it for. And he is upgrading it to Windows 10 for me and getting me the 2013 version of Office, because my versions of Office are out of licenses because I used them for purposes of work. So they're out of licenses and they're out of date anyway. So so that's how that's gonna go. Now he's coming Wednesday, which is the 17th, to set up the new system, help me get into my work portal to set everything up there, since it's a new system, and get the temporary fixes that we have worked out, put into place. Now, if it goes beyond a 30-day trial version of my magnification software, in that case, I'm going to have to miss work because I have to be able to see and do my job, and when the screen is normal size, I can't see it, so won't be able to do my job. So I talked to my supervisor tonight, and he said if that has to happen, to let him know where I have to miss because the 30-day time limit on the free stuff I'm using ran out before we could get the full version of what I need, to let him know, and that way that he could get it covered so it doesn't count against me. And I need to get with Kevin to kind of lock in a time during the day to get everything set up so that he can let the suits know. That way I don't get in trouble for being in the system when I am not supposed to be. So, is anybody else's head spinning yet? With that said, that's as far as we've gotten at this point. Like I said, my head is spinning like The Exorcist at this point, and we're not even halfway through this process. So, I will definitely keep you guys updated on that. Hopefully, smooth out a little bit. That way I can kind of rest a bit easier, and the worry doesn't give me migraines like it did on Wednesday. So, but that's that. That's the update on that. And, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you guys, They had originally given me, when they sent the email, they said the 19th, so they gave me about 3 weeks notice. I told the state that, and they laughed at me. They're like, yeah, that's not going to happen. Because anybody that's worked to try to get state or government assistance for anything knows that you can't get anything done in 3 weeks' time. Just because there's so much bureaucratic bullshit to kind of cut through and sift through. So um, so they know what they're dealing with, and um, if I end up having to miss some time, um, they're gonna try to get that covered for me so it doesn't count against me. But I'm hoping not to have to miss any time. But who knows? Anyway, that's enough about that because my head's spinning and I'm tired of talking about it. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, I don't watch a lot of NHL hockey. I follow um, what I see on Sports Center, and that's about it. Um, there is a guy, like a blue collar guy, only the fans could love. Um, John Scott. He got elected to the All Star game because fans voted him in. Then he got traded, and then after he got traded, he got sent down to the minor leagues. So the NHL, in their infinite wisdom, tried to get him not to play in the All-Star game. Let me say it again. Tried to get him not to play in the All-Star game. And what lengths did they go to try to necessitate this? They actually said to him, "What would your kids think if you played in the All-Star game and you weren't actually you were just a minor leaguer?" Really, NHL? Are you kidding me? This is why nobody likes. This is why your sports in the shape that it's in, because you only have your niche die-hard hockey fans because of shit like this. And so he went to the All-Star game, he played, he scored, and at the end of the All-Star game, when they were going to hand out the MVP, he wasn't going to get it. The fans started chanting his name. Literally started chanting his name. And they audibled on the fly, and he got the All-Star Game MVP. Good on those fans. You know, well done. Good on you. You know, get that boy the recognition he rightly deserves because he was voted to be there by the fans. And just a bad look for the NHL the way this whole thing, it all ended up being okay. Because he got to play and he got the MVP and whatever, but just the way that this was originally handled by the NHL is a bad look. I don't watch a lot of hockey except for when the Olympics comes around, and even then, I watch it, but I don't really pay attention to it. And so I kind of feel like, while this may not alienate current fans you have, just by the way this looks, it's not going to get you any new fans. So let this be a lesson to you, NHL, and never try to block anybody from doing anything, especially if it was fan approved or fan voted. Okay, anyway. NHL, my lord. Alright, next topic here. I saw some things the other day on Facebook that were in remembrance of Master Chief Graf, who was the NJROTC instructor when I went to high school, and they were talking about what an important impact he had on their lives and stuff. he unfortunately, took his life, took his own life. But that kind of got me to thinking, and I kind of shared that story on Facebook, and I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys now. Um, I was never a ROTC kid, um, but I had a bunch of friends at work. High school for me was not easy. It was bad. I was bullied pretty much every day. Um, so my senior year of high school, I think it was my senior year, might have been junior year. It was either junior or senior year. I think it might have been junior though. And Amy, if you can figure this out for me and kind of let me know. Um, I think it was senior year for me. But um, I was getting bullied every damn day. So I never, like my senior year, I only went to art like 3 times, to art class 3 times, because most of the bullying I was getting was from people in that class. So I never went because, well, didn't want to deal with it. Who would want to sit there and be bullied for 45 minutes anyway? So I don't know how he knew that. Never asked him. But he said to me one time, he's like, if you ever don't want to go to art or don't want to go to your class in this period, you can come down, sit in my class, observe, watch, you know, and all that stuff. And if you catch heat for it for anybody, I'll cover you. So I started doing that. I started going second bell, and instead of going to art, I would go to his class and kind of be an observer. And whenever they did drills and stuff, I would go out, and he would actually, after a while, he would let me lead the drills because I'd watched enough where I knew the calls and the cadences and stuff, so he would let me do it. And come to a point where I did start to catch a heat for it. So, and sure enough, just like he said he would, he took the heat for me for that. I don't know what he said. This is what he said to people that got them off my back, but he took the heat for it, and um, he never put any of that back on me, because I heard stories a bunch of times of him taking the heat for people when they would get in trouble, and then them owing him worse and him punishing them worse than what the punishment would have been if they ever got in trouble anyway. But he never did that for me. He never put any of that back on me. So, I was always very appreciative of that from him. And again, like I said, I never asked him how he knew. He just knew. So he made a pretty big impact on my life that I haven't forgotten to this day. And I miss him every day. You know, I still think about him. God, it seems like 10,000 times a day, because he didn't have to do what he did for me. Like I said, I do not know for the life of me how he knew. But he knew. And he did what he could to make my life in school just a small bit easier. And I will always be thankful to him for that, and I will always remember him for that. Rest in peace, MC. Okay, let's see what else is new here. Just a little reminder here. the February Friday freestyle is going to drop on the 26th of February, and um, I had it already all penned out and ready to go. It was in my phone, um, but I went to um, write something else out, and I accidentally deleted it. So that's just, I'm taking that just as a sign as the freestyle I had written out for February wasn't supposed to be that one, wasn't supposed to be the one I was supposed to do. So I am working on a Friday freestyle for February, and it will drop the 26th. So just kind of keep a lookout for that. Okay, let's see. Okay, these last two topics, and then I got a bonus topic for y'all, are wrestling related. When The Rock came back on Monday Night Raw a couple weeks ago, and he had an interaction with Lana in the backstage area, said something I don't remember what it was, because it's been a week. I don't remember what I had for dinner yesterday, much less some shit that happened 3 weeks ago. So, but he said something, and people on Twitter and Facebook got all open arms over, the sexism and all that kind of crap. And basically, all I can say to that is go screw yourself, because if fans today would have been fans back in the Attitude Era, which, 97, 98, 99, 2000, up until like 2002, that shit was a common occurrence back then. If you got offended by The Rock saying something in 2016 that was, so borderline offensive, what do you bitches wouldn't have survived Attitude Era. Because, you had chicks calling other chicks cum guzzling gutter sluts, and all this shit was unbleeped, by the way. Chicks calling other chicks cum guzzling gutter sluts. You had live sex celebrate, or no, that was like 06, but you had, porn star gimmicks, you had, simulated penis chopping off, you had, divas getting naked in pudding and, whipped cream and all that good shit. You had, coarse language from wrestlers and promos. You had The Rock calling Shane McMahon a pussy and didn't get bleeped. You had, let's see, Rock talking about Poontang Pie, didn't get bleeped. You had, bunch of, references to homosexuality that didn't get bleeped. So, if y'all would have been around back then, y'all wouldn't have survived it. Now, see, to me, that was probably the best time in the era of wrestling that I've been a fan, which has been since '88. But the people that are the fans now wouldn't have survived back then, because y'all couldn't have survived all that shit. Y'all are too sensitive now. Pussified now. Which is stupid, because, y'all say, bring back the attitude, bring back this. Well, somebody does something that kind of alludes to the Attitude Era, and everybody gets their bowels in an uproar. Make up your fucking minds. What do you want? Though, if you say you want the Attitude Era, don't think you could have survived. Couldn't survive it now, and I really, based on what I'm seeing, don't think you could have survived it back then either. So, be a little less sensitive, yo. Basically, is what I'm saying. Next thing I'm going to cover are the cuts to the NXT roster. Only going to cover one of the 5, because while I know who the other 2 were, 2 of the other 4 were. I don't know um, who the other one was. So I'm just gonna cover one of these, and it's the one that I was most surprised by, and that was the cut of Bull Dempsey. I thought there was a bunch of potential there. I liked Bull from the start. Um, I always told Lizzie that he reminded me of a late 80s, early 90s Rick Steiner type, just because of his hard-hitting style. And, he had potential. I don't think the bullfit gimmick did him any favors. Um, but, and on his way out, I think they made him a joke, but, at least they were using him. But he had the potential to be something. Um, if they would have figured it out earlier. Um, so he's the only one I was really sad to see go. Sylvester LaFour and Marcus Louis were the other two that I knew that I recalled that I had any knowledge of, and not really sad or happy to see them go. I'm kind of indifferent because they weren't doing anything with them anyway. After the Endo and Cass feud that got LaFour with his head shaved and all that good stuff. So didn't really think too much about them getting cut, and I didn't know the other two. But yeah, Bull Dempsey's the only one that kind of surprised me. I understand it. You have all these new people coming in. You have to kind of cut some guys to make some spots. And if you're not really doing anything with any of the guys you're cutting, or if you are and it's not going anywhere, I understand it. Hopefully, Bull comes back sometime down the line, year or two maybe, you know, and restarts and they get him, and they get it right this time. So, but that's my thoughts on the cuts to the NXT roster, and that's going to leave us with our bonus topic, which is Bryan Danielson's retirement. Now, I call him Bryan Danielson because that's his actual given birth name, and two, when I first started hearing about him and seeing footage of him, he was going by American Dragon Bryan Danielson, so that's what I know him as. So that's kind of, most people now would probably know him again, and this goes back to fans today, would probably only recognize him as Daniel Bryan. So, but he has had concussion issues pretty much his entire career. He said in an interview with ESPN he got his first concussion when he was 18, and in the first 7 or 8 months he was in the business, he had like 3 concussions in 7 or 8 months. So he's had issues with concussions in the past, and he's been out since last April with concussion-related issues, and he's been lobbying to get back in the ring because, every test he's taken, he said, has come back and said he's clear, he's, of cognitive mind and body, doesn't have any issues there. Well, he took some tests last week in New York that found some small lesions on his brain that were the cause of the seizures that he's had for a while, that he's hid from people. And because he found this, he said, I'm not as good as I thought I was. I'm not really as healthy as I thought I was. So Um, you know, it's not cancer or anything. Just, one too many concussions and, the small spots there. So he was advised not to wrestle again. And so he came out, gave his retirement speech, said that, he was grateful for the almost 16 years that he had, um, and that he had made it. He owed everything he had in his life to wrestling. His wife, his career, everything pretty much. And he was grateful for the fans, grateful for the opportunity. But he has to now start a new chapter of his life. While it is sad for me as a fan, I completely get it. I clap for him because not a lot of guys would be able to make that choice, given the information that he has. Even if they had that information, they'd still say, fuck it, I don't care. That's why everybody who ever has the courage to step in a ring, I have the utmost respect for, because they are taking the risk on paying a price for it, and even if they don't have concussion issues, their body is going to pay a price for it anyway. So nothing but appreciation for everybody. I've always felt like that's where I was supposed to be. Inside a wrestling ring was where I was supposed to be. I've always felt that way. But my circumstances are such that I can't. So I kind of lived through those guys. You know, people are like, how can you be a fan for so long, and how can you, go through all the like bad periods and stuff? Simply, it's in my blood, man. I love it. I lived through those guys. I love it. It's the one thing that's never turned away from me. Um, so thank you to Brian Danielson for the memories, the great matches. Um, thank God for YouTube. So if I ever want to, watch some of the awesome stuff he did in his career, just pull them up and watch them. And I hope that he does like Edge and, at least pops in from time to time just to say hi. Um, it would be awesome to see. Um, and I wish him well in his next chapter in his life. With that said, I'm going to shut up because we're about 35 minutes into this, and I only intended to go about 20. So I'm gonna shut up, say that I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Hope y'all are good. Be well. I love you. Peace. Thanks for fostering the creativity. And my ass is about to go watch Pawn Stars from yesterday. So I will be back with you guys again later. Probably either Monday or Wednesday, because those are my days off for next week. With the 6 movie deep Mikey Goes to the Movies, so be on the lookout for that. I may drop another bookstore and another top 5 list as well, sometime in the next week or two as well. So be on the lookout for all those. Lots of new stuff coming. Thank y'all for watching. I love y'all. Peace.